Year 8 into my plant-based journey, I walked into the doctor's office because your girl was skeleton skinny, weak, and like, can I just lay down here on the sidewalk and nap right quick? He told me the lab results came back and it didn't look too good. So I had to overhaul everything. Hey fam, it's your girl Mel, your plant-based bestie, health coach, and holistic nutritionist. If you're new here, welcome. On this channel, we keep it real with simple plant-based and juicing strategies, recipes, newbie-friendly transition tips. Plus, I've been adding content about hair health, all of this so you can accomplish your God-given purpose without poor health standing in the way. So a lot of y'all already know I've been rocking this plant-based lifestyle for like 20 years. But year 8 wasn't great. My health crashed, like sky-high inflammation, body pains, a lot of weird stuff was going on. And I overhauled a lot. And by God's grace, it stuck. I boiled 2 decades of wins and flops into 7 winning habits for thriving plant-based for the long haul. You ready? Let's go. So who knows about the bean bloat? Baby, ain't nobody got time for that, okay? Give them a bath. If you're one of those people who just can't deal with beans and have even considered not going plant-based because of this reason, I suggest you soak them. Trust me on this one. It has saved me from a lot of bloating and a lot of, unnecessary music. Give them at least 8 hours in water. Overnight works. It breaks down the gas-making sugars in beans and it makes them more digestible. I have a whole video on how to degas beans if you're interested. I learned a lot of them from my mother. I grew up seeing her soak her beans and specifically like added things to the pot, like all this stuff. And I thought it was for flavor, but it also cuts the gas. And if you haven't made beans your friend, let me put a plug in here right quick for my beans. They are a protein powerhouse. They slash your risk of disease. They are delicious. They are versatile. What else can I say? Places in the world where people live the longest, beans are actually a daily staple. But it's also just as important to know how to prepare them so they sit right, especially if you're on the plant-based journey for the long haul. Here's a pro tip. Freeze your beans so you don't have to soak them every time you cook them. You can soak several types at the top of the week, drain them, rinse them twice, and freeze them just like that. Or you can cook them and freeze them for later. It's a time-saving hack either way. Hey, I hope you're enjoying today's content. Did you know that 79% of our viewers aren't subscribed yet? So there's a good chance you might not be either. If that's you, I'm so glad you're watching. Thank you. And if you could hit that subscribe button real quick, that would mean so much to me. All right, let's get back to the vid. Okay, so I used to think I was getting a lot of iron in because I was eating plant-based, right? I'm like, my iron's on point, but like my energy level was like still MIA. Come to find out, my iron was not where I wanted it to be. And one of the missing links was vitamin C. I know, right? So vitamin C increases your iron absorption by like 100% or more. So if your iron is dipping, even after you're stuffing yourself silly with all the greens and the beans, you just might need a vitamin C boost. Another thing to consider is your gut health. Your gut is where iron gets absorbed. Now, some people say, just eat meat. You won't be iron deficient. That's not always the case because I was borderline anemic when I did eat meat and I was super constipated, unfortunately. And I know of others who are going through the same thing. And I think the plant-based iron thing is so important because some people have stopped being plant-based because they really don't know how to keep their iron levels up. I've been there. But small tweaks really make a huge difference. And let me know in the comments if this is something that's bothering you, if iron is something you struggle with, or that you want to know more about. I could do a video on that. Thankfully, my iron is good now. In fact, even in pregnancy, a time when iron levels can easily drop, vitamin C has helped me keep those iron levels lifted. So it really does make a world of a difference. So getting enough vitamin C and making sure you're taking care of your gut are hugely important, sweetheart. But of course, this doesn't really matter if you're not eating the greens, the beans, the berries, the lentils, the iron-rich foods, okay? You need to eat those things first in order to get the iron. An easy way to boost your vitamin C intake is to simply splash some lemon on your greens and your beans. You could cook them with some red pepper, some camu or gooseberry for extra vitamin C in your smoothie. You might even want to consider, and I think this is a great idea, Magnesia, a vitamin C supplement paired with your meals until you're satisfied with your levels. And for your gut, feed it with beneficial things like beans, greens, bananas, all rich in prebiotic fiber, which help build up the gut bacteria that support iron absorption. Pro tip, if you drink coffee or black tea, you might want to skip them for at least an hour before or after eating, since tannins can significantly reduce iron absorption. And is it just me, or has meal planning become like this whole situation? I'm talking about like elaborate color-coded spreadsheets and pivot tables. Listen, those can definitely be helpful if that's your thing. And shout out to all my spreadsheet kings and queens, y'all holding it down. But if you're anything like me, by the time you plan out like meal 2, you're like too tired to even boil water. If you're in it to win it, don't stress meal planning, okay? Meal planning doesn't have to be that deep. I'm going to show you how I keep it simple and still stay on track. I use simple frameworks to build my meals. One of them is starch, protein, good fat, okay? And then I press play. For example, at the top of the week, you can pick 2 or 3 simple starches to cook. Maybe some roasted sweet potatoes, maybe some quinoa. And then next, you can pick your proteins, maybe some black beans and some tofu. And for some good fat, good old simple avocado. And then I always have something raw available, like some greens and some veggies. Always keep those in the fridge on hand. So that's several food items, but only like 4 that you have to cook. The sweet potato, the quinoa, one of my favorites because it has all 20 amino acids, beans, and tofu. And you could mix and match these as much as you want and get about like 8 different meal combinations. You can make a nourish bowl with quinoa and black beans and avocado topped with some salsa and some cilantro. You can do some roasted sweet potatoes with tofu with a tahini drizzle over some greens. You could do a quick stir fry with quinoa and veggies. By just picking a few starches and proteins and fat, you have a base for like a bowl, a wrap, a skillet meal, whatever fits your vibe for the day. And please let me know if meal planning is a little complicated for you. Hopefully this framework gets your wheels going. Honestly, sometimes I just raid the fridge or the freezer and build dinner on the fly. But the reason I can do this, y'all, is because I keep bags of pre-cooked black beans, pinto beans, chickpeas, some seasoned, others plain, ready to drop into any dish. And when it's time to shop, I get the missing items on my meal plan and I just keep it moving. And you can do the same. First, start off by looking at what you have in your fridge and your freezer and just build on that. Now, I mentioned one method, but it could definitely change depending on the season. Like if I'm doing an all raw week or like a juice cleanse, like some type of detox, or if I want to try something new and switch up my main dishes. But you get the point. It doesn't have to be super complicated. The key is really balance and simplicity, and then you just press play. And when I'm doing my low-key planning, I have a non-negotiable, and this needs its own spotlight. Raw is so important when you're going plant-based because it's easy to hop on the cooked and processed wagon. I've been there. And this is one of the reasons year 8 was not great for me. And I felt it. Like my blood work showed it as well. And I didn't recognize it until I did a raw challenge and I began eating more raw food. That's because raw foods are your daily fast track to live enzymes. My simplest hack is to drink your salad. Did she just say drink your salad? Honey, yes, I did. Because you may not always have time to make a bright and beautiful pre-cut rainbow salad. I get it. Although you can always, plan for that in advance. But what I do on most days, and this is definitely a plant-based longevity hack for me, I either drink vegetable juice from the juicer or I blend my greens with some apple and some cilantro, some seeds, some cayenne, some celery, maybe some dates. And I chug that down. First drink of the morning after my water. And actually, it doesn't taste too bad. I do this because eating a good chunk of raw daily is highly important to me. It's helping me thrive on my journey and it guarantees that I'm getting my greens in. You know what I mean? If I get a huge salad in, amazing. And I do get them in, but this ensures I'm hitting my raw needs every day, even when salad isn't on the menu. Eating high raw meals keeps me super regular. It keeps me full without blood sugar roller coasters. It's also filled with micronutrients and antioxidants. And even if you're not plant-based, but you want to amp up your daily raw consumption on a tight schedule, you might want to consider drinking something like this. On most days even, fruit is another staple. Love my fruit, but I'm careful not to blend my high sugar fruit the way I would use my veggies, like blend my veggies, because they can cause sugar spikes. So you want to be intentional about that. Now, what really messed me up on the journey is the season when I was leaning more heavily on processed foods over plant foods. But the truth is, the healing and feeling good is in plants over processed. So my advice is, if you want to do the plant-based lifestyle thing long term, keep it real and keep it whole as much as you can. Sure, a little process here and there is all right, but don't let it be the bulk of your diet, especially if you're trying to reverse disease and especially if you don't want to go broke. So anchor every meal in foods that don't need an ingredient label, right? Like sweet potatoes, lentils, quinoa, berries, leafy greens, nuts, raw food. Let the inner aisles supply only basics like your grains and your beans, your lentils. Think single ingredient swaps. So chickpeas you season at home instead of salty canned soup. A handful of almonds or nuts that you like over processed protein bars that might be really high in sugar. It's going to protect your health and your wallet. If you're just starting out, aim for about 70% whole and 30% convenient, and then start to slowly wean that down every week. An easy way to do this is to batch cook your grains and beans on maybe a Sunday, for example. Already washed veggies, batch cook that, and some quick toppers like tahini or avocado, so you're always ready to eat real food. Let me tell you something. Track momentum, not perfection. Why? Because progress over perfection matters most. I've been plant-based for over 20 years, but it has not been perfect. Did that mean I threw in the towel every time I slipped up, even though I wanted to? No, I didn't. I eventually learned to give myself grace and keep pushing. It reminds me of this one time, I think it was my first year ditching meat and dairy. And I had a weak moment, y'all, for some ice cream. I was like, I'll be fine. No big deal, baby. I had a small cup and I threw up minutes later. I could have gotten all upset and I was a little upset and I could have just stopped the healthy pursuit, but I just kept moving and I just relaunched. Perfection is going to always tell you I slipped up. I might as well throw in the towel because I ain't cut out for this. But progress says I slipped up. This was a learning moment. Let me try again with a green smoothie or a vegetable juice. When you trade the all or nothing mindset for the small, steady upgrades, you let habits take root, baby. And this is how you steady your blood sugar. This is how the cravings ease. This is how your confidence grows because you don't cut it off prematurely. You allow it to grow. Real transformation takes place with this daily mindset. You're gonna hear me say this a lot. If you haven't heard me say it already, do you. Going plant-based isn't a one-size-fits-all plan, honey. Your body, your taste, lifestyle are all uniquely yours. When you do you focus on what works instead of chasing someone else's, highlight reel. I had to learn this because everyone has an opinion of what they consider is ideal. Now, I'm all about learning from others, okay? No shade. But at the end of the day, you have to ease off and stick to your own convictions. Embracing your individuality means choosing foods you enjoy and that suit your body. Because if green smoothies make you gag, don't drink it, If you'd rather have a salad, go ahead and do that. You see what I mean? Adapt as needed. Own your journey by choosing foods and habits that are best for you. My biggest takeaway: the goal isn't perfection, okay? It's momentum. You don't have to do this journey like everyone else. Just be intentional about the next best step. Keep it real and keep it whole. And if you want to go deeper, check out this video right here. I love y'all. I'll see you in the next one.